What is happening, guys? My name is Jamie. Today we are doing Soilwork and their EP, A Whisp of the Atlantic. This EP was released last week. Now I know I'm a little bit late with this review, but you know what? Fuck it. I do albums that are 60 years old sometimes on this channel. Better late than never. Soilwork is a band that I never really got into. Like I never really dabbled in their discography. But after listening to this particular album, this album definitely was the gateway for me for Soilwork. Soilwork has a diverse discography. They're very similar to bands like In Flames. Now I know they are Swedish melodic death metal, but on this album, they are far from mellow death, in my opinion. This is sort of a progressive, proggy sort of album, you could say. And I'm calling it an album because it is a fucking album. This is an album, this is 37 minutes long. If it was an EP, it would be around 28 to 30 minutes long, wouldn't it? If it's above 30 minutes, it is a friggin' album. Rain of Blood was fucking 30 minutes. Would you call it a fucking EP? I don't think so. So it's 37 minutes. It is a friggin' album. Anyway, rant over. So, Soilwork, A Whisp of the Atlantic is a great progressive metal album with elements of very odd time signatures throughout the epic 16-minute song, A Whisp of the Atlantic. What I really enjoyed was the overall structure of some of these songs, and his vocals, I think his name's Bjorn, or we like to call him Speed, had some really dynamic vocals with some harsh aggressive vocals and cleaner vocals, which I really enjoyed. Now there's one particular person that didn't really enjoy this album, and should I name him? Well, I'll name him later on throughout the video. But he didn't really enjoy it, which I was quite surprised, to be honest, because they definitely have been inspired by bands such as Dream Theater, Opeth, Rush, and even, dare I say, Bellacore. But overall, I couldn't believe that Soilwork made a 16-minute song. And we're going to talk about this Whisp of the Atlantic, the self-titled track later on. But the production on this album is actually pretty solid. The tone of the snare creates this atmosphere that I love, and also the synths as well. There are a lot of synths throughout this album that just create this element of surprise. What is really interesting is that what Dark Tranquillity did as well, creating that gothic vibe. There are some elements of gothic moments, but it's less prominent than Dark Tranquillity's album. This is more of a guitar-driven album with some really nice bass lines as well. So let's talk about the Nothingness and the Devil. Nothingness and the Devil is pretty hard-hitting, a straight mellow death song. What I love is the overall guitar riffs. I just love how Iron Maiden inspired these riffs are, or even, could you say, Judas Priest inspired. His vocals are intense and harsh and aggressive. I do love the overall solos throughout this song, and the really nice synths that are built up to this prominent conclusion of the song. Just love the climax. Yeah, the Nothingness and the Devil has such an awesome, catchy fucking hook that I really enjoy. Feverish Like This is the next song, which is Feverish. Feverish is such an awesome song. It incorporates harsh aggressive vocals but cleaner vocals throughout the chorus. And I just love how the blast beats are incorporated throughout the chorus that really escalate the song into the next level. It's a great song overall for this fucking album. It's a great overall lift for the album as well. Feverish is in a very good position on this. We get on to Desperado, which I thought was going to be an Eagles cover, to be honest, but Desperado is the weakest song of the album. It's got a catchy sort of hook, which I do enjoy, and a really nice solo. There's nothing really special about this song. Overall, it's still a pretty good song, but it's an average Soilwork song. We get on to Death Diviner. Death Diviner is overall fantastic way to close off the album. Although there are a few pet hates on this particular EP, you could say, on this particular record, I'm going to say Death Diviner is one of my favorite songs off the album, just because of how soaring that fucking chorus is. Oh, I love that chorus. Speed's vocals are absolutely incredible in this. And I just really love the overall progression. There are some odd time signals, some really nice solos, and the overall instrumentals, the musicianship does very fucking well. And now we get on to A Whisp of the Atlantic. Believe it or not, this was my first ever Soilwork song I heard. So I was a little bit confused that Soilwork were melodic death, because a lot of people were saying, and even Quest for Metal was saying, that Soilwork is a mellow death band. So I was really confused when a fucking 16-minute song popped up, A Whisp of the Atlantic. So I gave it a whirl, and holy shit, I was very surprised. They definitely have been inspired by bands such as Threshold, Dream Theater, even bands such as Stratovarius, and even Symphony X. This is a prog metal piece by Soilwork, and it's so fucking enjoyable. Although it's not the best prog song I've heard, but for a melodeath band to make a prog song like this should be commended. And this was definitely the gateway for me for Soilwork. It really was, because after that I listened to Violington or something like that, the album before that, which I found was very fun indeed. Listened to also their first album. That was a fun fucking album. After this album, I binged their entire discography in one fucking day. That's how much I enjoyed this band. And Soilwork would be up there to be one of my favorite melodeath bands at the moment, because I really enjoy their stuff. Although the middle work is alternative metal, you could say, incorporate elements of that metalcore sort of sound, it's still, Soilwork are still a very fun band. So we talk about The Whisp of the Atlantic. I just love how there are orchestral moments throughout this song, such as trumpets are incorporated throughout the conclusion, and there are some really nice solos throughout this song. Gritty guitar riffs as well that I love. Just the overall time signatures. It's 16 minutes, but it doesn't feel like a 16-minute song. How there are some very, very similar Dream Theater moments on this particular song, especially in the middle part. Really atmospheric tone, that keyboard, and it sounds like Jordan Rudess is friggin' playing. A Whisp of the Atlantic is a fucking banger of a prog metal song. Oh, I did talk about Death Diviner. You know this fucking review is not scripted. Death Diviner has such a catchy fucking chorus, along with a catchy fucking riff, especially in the verse. So damn good, it really is. When the skies. But yeah, A Whisp of the Atlantic is a pretty solid album for Soilwork, and it is a fucking album running about 37 minutes. 5 songs with a 16-minute prog piece. Although my little pet hate is maybe put A Whisp of the Atlantic last to end off this epic album, but overall, a solid album nonetheless by Soilwork. So for Soilwork, A Whisp of the Atlantic, it is not my favorite album by them. It's a solid piece of juicy ass, this album, and I fucking well enjoyed it. So the person that didn't like it was Quest for Metal, and his main complaint was the vocals. He couldn't really get into the vocals. He said his vocals were shit. But Quest for Metal is completely wrong with this album. He really is the retard, and he deserves to get locked up in a room with no food for a week. So stick a breadstick up your ass, Quest for Metal. Alright, A Whisp of the Atlantic Soilwork will get a solid 8.5 out of 10. A thoroughly enjoyable album, 5 songs, 37 minutes, it's a fucking album. So guys, comment below whether you enjoyed this album review or not. So keep discussion going in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. When the sky... Oh god, I love that song.